and higher, progressively worse. A lack of self-care causes extra and unnecessary weight in our lives. It causes us to be disconnected from the purpose that God created us for, and that is to bring him glory. There also is this discount in our value that happens without self-care. We are discounting the greatness that God has poured into us. And it takes a toll on our divine relationship. And so thinking about self-care in this regard helps us to kind of move and shift ourselves across that pendulum in a way that we can begin to connect vertically with God and ourselves and lessen the weight of the horizontal position we often take as givers, servants, leaders. So I have this little picture up here about what self-care looks like, just continuing and adding and building, putting some meat on these bones. Self-care is proactive. It's fluid. It's not meant to be stagnant. It's not meant for you to just do one thing every day, all the time, as a way to just kind of feel better. But it should be creative. It should be representative of the creative beings that we are. So it's fluid. It should be a discipline. Just like our prayer lives, our time we spend in our word, the time we give to our churches, it's a discipline. It's a part, it should be a way of life. And self-care is an investment. There are some things that we can do for self-care that cause a monetary investment, but there are plenty of things that we can do as far as self-care is concerned that won't cost us a thing. It's cheaper than what we've been giving out to people, to be quite honest. All right. Embracing self-care helps us practice, again, balance the way God has intended. I share with you about just kind of gleaning from the creation story, how God was balanced in the way that creation was done. He didn't just slap everything together in a day and then try to go back and fix it, right? No, he took his time. He was intentional about how things were set in order so that one thing could kind of connect with the other, right? There was an order with that. And self-care causes us to realize that we need God. It causes us to come face to face with the fact that if we're going to be dependent on anything, we ought to be dependent on the living God, not some of this other stuff, TV binging. And TV binging has its place. I love a good ratchet show, right? I love a good reality show every now and again, but it shouldn't be my always go-to. Right? I need to run to God. I need to run to the well that is never dry. I need to be able to connect with God because he is able to connect with me in a way and fill me and us in a way that none of this other stuff will do. Will some positive tools help us? Absolutely. But we ought to first start with God and then add in everything else, okay? So self-care can look just like some of these things here. We've talked about, this one is forest bathing, same concept, sound bath. We've talked about we're going to talk about setting boundaries next. Move sometimes, dance, have some connections. Sitting with yourself and having some honest conversations about why do you do what you do? Why do you think like you think? What caused you to have this kind of mind frame? Have some self-reflection as to, I work with people who are often very angry, and we use the word in our culture, they tend to pop off all the time, right? No matter what the situation is. I mean, they always got a good pop off. They respond with anger, right? Sitting with yourself to ask, like, why is that my go-to? What in my life has caused me to have this type of response? And now what do I need to do to address that? A lot of these things, laughing, dancing, breathing, they create in us a positive response to a lot of the negativity we've picked up along the way. And it feels foreign. I'll be honest. It feels foreign to not pop off. It feels foreign not to give somebody a piece of your mind. It feels foreign to react from a peaceful place versus what we've always done. But if we always do what we've always done, expecting something different, that, my friends, is the definition of crazy. We can't keep doing the same thing over and again, expecting a different response. We've got to transition. We've got to try something different. And we've got to give that something that we try time to take root. All right. And the biggest thing on the bottom of that previous screen is that we got to learn how to say no. Dr. Henry Cloud, he has his research and work is all around boundaries. He brings a Christian approach. He applies his work to leadership, but he brings an understanding to us about boundaries. And if I could recommend a book for the year, I would tell you to pick up Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud. You can get it on Audible. I don't know him. He's not getting any perks from this plug, but listen, the information that I've been able to glean from it and share with others has been amazing. He starts off this particular book, with a story about a woman who says yes to everyone and everything. However, in between the story, we hear her frustration, her tiredness, the fact that she's overwhelmed, the fact that she's stretched very, very thin and close to a breakdown. And he uses this analogy about how we can often go along in our lives creating inappropriate boundaries by always watering someone else's yard. He says we're neighbors. We live right next door to someone. We will take our water hose. We'll take the water that we pay for every month. We'll put that water hose on our neighbor's yard, water that grass. It is green, flourishing. It is lovely. We can go over there and sound bath. But when we look at our own grass, it is brown, dead, and dying, because we have poured all of ourselves into someone else and forgot about our own. And so thinking about boundaries and self goals and self-care goals go hand in hand. You cannot have self-care goals without boundaries. No, my friends, is a complete sentence. Somebody is going to say you're being selfish with all this self-care stuff because it's new. I just told you, new stuff makes people nervous. They like old routine. People like old routine, especially when they are benefactors from those routines. I like that you do what you do because what you do is for me. What you do is being done for me. I like it. Don't change it. Okay? But in order to begin at a real place about taking care of yourself, you've got to implement self-care. And self-care is not selfish, it's self-full. You've got to refill yourself. And no, as a complete sentence, is one of the main tools that's going to help you be able to do that. I just want you to come off of mute for a second. Everybody, if you can, quickly, just come off of mute. I just want to give you a quick test. I just want to check and see if something works. Let's see. Just come off of mute. Come off of mute. And I'm going to count to 3. And I want to see if you can say no. 1, 2, 3.
No.
No. I don't hear any no. No. All right, there's some no's.
No.
All right, it sounds like the no's. It sounds like no works. Give yourselves a round of applause. Give yourselves a round of applause. We've got 32 participants on here, 33 coming in the door. And it sounds like no one is dealing with a broken no. We thank God for that. God, thank you for the ability to say no. Now, God, I pray for this servant and your people that we begin to use this new word and sound that's coming out of our mouths as no. No is going to help you take some of your time back. Representative Maxine Waters has helped us when she said, I am reclaiming my time. I want to help you reclaim your time, First Baptist, and I want to empower you to use the word no. No helps us implement and begin to set a boundary. And I just want you to understand that boundaries have a biblical nature. Again, if we don't look at any other personality in the Bible, we can start with God from Genesis. We see how boundaries are important and how God used boundaries in order to do the work that he needed to do. Boundaries are evident in everything: God's character, universe, and people, right? Boundaries are needed so that we will experience relationships and achieve the purpose God has for us in a way that is not taxing. But the only way boundaries work is if we use them. We have to communicate them, not only with our words, but with our actions. You probably have figured this out. A lack of boundaries invites a lack of respect. So if you are experiencing disrespect in this area from people, places, situations around you, most likely it's because you have inappropriate boundaries and they need to shift. Because where there are no boundaries, there are no boundaries. Where there are no boundaries, there are no boundaries. People will not, we just don't have, it's that human, selfish part of us. We don't have, not completely. And I'm sure, I mean, if I would invite you to come off of mute again, I'm sure we all either have an experience or firsthand have been disrespectful when it comes to boundaries, especially if someone is always saying, yes, I can do that. Yes, I'll be there. Yes, 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 yes. Your time is your life, period, end of story. How you spend it, just like this quote says at the bottom, ends up what your life is. Leaders in the church often get a bad rap when it comes to being a leader in a church with a family. And Pastor Brooks alluded to this earlier, because we are always in relationship with the church and the members of the church. But the people that wait for us on the other side of the threshold often get the short end of the stick. What's taking up the space and time in your life? And are there places where an adjustment needs to happen? Okay. So how do we do this? Dr. Morgan, you've given us all this information. We've been talking about self-care. I think I got it, but I have the slightest idea how to begin, all right? So this is where some exercise and practice is gonna come into play. If you've brought with you back from the break, paper and pen, this is where I want you to begin looking, all right? We've got about 34 minutes. I want to be cognizant and respectful of your time. Why? Because boundaries are important. Okay. All right. So we are going to look at creating or crafting a personal self-care mission statement. We likely have done some activity like this in our workplaces and spaces and even ministry places, where we were looking at what do we assign to this particular task and how do we accomplish it. So using the idea of a mission statement, we are going to begin embracing self-care. And so a mission statement helps to define who you are as a person or a team member. In this case, we're looking at individuals, okay? And that's whether it's in your life, in your office, or simply in life. And it explains how you aim to pursue a particular purpose and why it matters to you. So we've declared early on in this session that self-care matters. And so now we want to kind of pull it out a bit to say, why does it matter? And how am I going to make sure? What am I going to say? How am I going to craft this so that I make sure it not only matters, but I'll begin to be reflective of this in my life, right? So when you're crafting a mission statement, you want to first look at what you bring to the table. What are your skills, your talents, your gifts, your ability? What is it that God has asked you to do? What do you feel like your purpose is? And it's okay if you don't have a definitive answer. Just think about some of the places that are common that God often causes you to show up. And when you show up, you bring something that makes a situation better, okay? If that helps. So I don't want you to get hung up on, oh, Dr. Morgan, I don't really know what my purpose is. I'm still struggling with that. I don't want you to spend time there, because what I do know is that you do have purpose because God created you, if for nothing else. And I know that that is a limited statement, but if for nothing else, God has created you to bring him glory. So what does that look like? Right? Do you show up in a room and you bring smiles to people's faces? Do you show up in spaces and your presence alone changes and transitions that environment? When you get there, do people say, gosh, I feel better, so much better that you're here? Do you get there and jump in and begin to make sure that things are organized and crafted in a way that it's presentable? How do you show up in places and spaces? Next, I want you to consider your personality type. Now, y'all tell the truth, all right? Y'all shame the devil. Don't lie. Tell the truth. Think about your personality. Are you prickly? Are you prickly? Do you give people ouchies? Are you joyful? Are you that person that shows up and you are amenable, accountable? Or are you the person people say, well, listen, I mean, at the last result, you might want to just leave that person for last. Let's tell the truth, because you know you best. And ain't no need to lie to you, because that's going to defeat the whole purpose of trying to do self-care. Because then you're saying, posing yourself as one thing when the real you is trying to fight through all of that. Let's stop that today. Let's let the real you shine. And think about your personality traits, all right? Because your personality matters. You might be an introvert and don't like to be bothered with a whole lot of folk. Or you might kind of be in the middle where I can do people for a little bit, but I need to go refresh, right? Or you're all in and an extrovert and you can just jump in and swim with the sharks and enjoy yourself. Great. But think about your personality type and traits. Next, I want you to consider your values, your dreams, and your passions. If you could wake up every day doing one or two particular things all day, what would it be? What is your heart drawn to, connected to? If you woke up every day and you could work with children, is that your passion? Is that your dream? If you could wake up every day and just do music, create music, write music, compose. What are your passions, your dreams? If you are that person that could wake up in the morning and just write so that you can publish a work of art, literacy, education, children's books. What are your passions, right? And so once you consider number 1, number 2, and number 3, now I want you to begin thinking about how and what ways can you reach and honor your mission, right? Because now you've looked at who you are as far as what you bring to the table, what you can do, what type of personality, because your type of personality is going to determine the type of places and environments you'll flourish in. And then what are your dreams, your passions, and your values? Because then you will align yourself to those things. And if you take a moment, I'm a visual person, so as I'm saying this out loud, I can see them orchestrating in my mind in a way that if I do these things and consider these things, they then begin to kind of craft what I should be connected to, what's important to me, and then my plan for me to be able to do some of this. My mind says, well, Tasha, you can't write. I love to write, but I have to make time to do it. I can't write every day, all day, right? But I need to be able to carve some time to do it. How are you going to do that? I'm going to join a writing group. The writing group meets every month. We get on Zoom. We carve out 1 hour a week, and all we do is sit and hold space with one another and write. So I can't commit to my passion and dream and what I think is valuable in me every single day, but I'm carving out some space. And that in itself is then the position of balance. It's not that you want to be able to do everything that you need and recognizing your limitation all day, every day. No, you've got to work, you've got ministry, you've got responsibilities, but how do you make space for them all in the course of a day, in the course of a week? You know, the Bible tells us we get one shot at this thing called life, one chance. And then there's the judgment when it's our time. I want to make the best opportunity of the opportunity I have of life. I had a professor, and this was in my first master's program, Dr. Toogood and I was in that program together. And he was 67 then. He's still living, bless his heart. And he said, y'all, when I get to heaven, I want to get there expended, broken up, poured out. I want to give this life everything that I've got. I don't want to take anything with me. And so at 67, then, and he's still living, he was taking classes, learning new things, learning how to connect in technology, where we, 30 years, most of us 30 years younger than him, was like, no, I don't want to add anything else to my plate. But that was his mindset, and that was his understanding. He understood his skills, his abilities, his personality, his dreams, and his passion. And when he understood that, he then created a path to be able to reach and honor that mission. And so Dr. Harrison has created an IT company, postgraduate school. So now he's at least 79 with an IT company that's flourishing, because he just jumped in and said, I love learning new things. That was his passion. All right. I told you self-care doesn't have an age. All right. The sooner we start teaching our children how to take care of themselves, the sooner we begin becoming the example, right? You become the example that someone else can glean from. The sooner, doesn't matter. Don't think about the latter, I'm already 60. So what? So what? Do it anyway. Do it anyway. I soft launched a new business this year, Pastor Brooks. I ain't even got the website up. I haven't even finished working with the lady for the edits. I got a call. This is January the 15th. It's 15 days in 2022. I promised God I would start this thing in January. I said, God, you know, I'm already busy. You do know that, right? And he was like, yeah, but this is a part of your purpose. And I was like, God, you know, I'm pretty scared about doing this. And he's like, yeah, do it scared. I got you. So at 47, I am launching a new business to intersect these spaces of faith with mental wellness. And I got a call. Your call came first. First Baptist's call came first. I said, okay, Lord, what are you doing? Got a call 2 weeks ago. The church needed a grief session. They lost a minister. Can you come? I held the space for the young adults. They said, can you come back next week and do it for the adults? I went last week and did it for the adults. Can you come back and train our leaders? All of this is happening and unfolding under this new business called Headspace. Y'all pray for a sister. And I had to sit down and do this exercise. What do I bring to the table? What is my personality? What are my passions and dreams? And how am I going to get there? And the first thing I said is, I need some help. I can't do this by myself. Right? So less about, and then there are other things. There's a journal, there's a book. There are other things that have to come out of this so that God can get the glory out of my life. You're never too old. Do it scared. Do it afraid. Because before long, God will prove to you that if you are a good steward over what I have given you, I will give you more. And that increase comes with, again, with this vertical relationship getting in place. And I'm not saying it's going to be perfect all the time, but not only will I give you increase, but I will be with you. God will be with me. He will never leave or forsake me. And we will be able to see that in a greater way. All right. So what are your skills? What are your traits? What are your passions? And how do you get there? Now, who's going to be my brave soldier to share what they're thinking about? And this should be a working, all right? I'm not saying walk away from this session and it's perfect. I just want you to start working. So what, even if it looks like a bubble right now with lines sticking out and you just got ideas, who wants to be brave and share what the working space of their personal self-care mission statement is? Just come off of mute. Everybody's looking. One person. Uh-oh, y'all gonna make me call names.
I'm here.
All right, Pastor Brooks, it's on you. You leading the charge today.
Have mercy. Okay. What to consider my skills. Okay. Oh, my skills. Okay. Effective communication and writing. And so I will work more tirelessly in those areas. My personality trait is, I believe I'm a very inviting person, affable, sometimes to a fault. My values, dreams and passion. My values are, I believe that the truth is not negotiable. I believe that once you have your integrity, you continue to maintain it in a way that is not dogmatic to other people. My dreams, now, Latasha, you done delved into some stuff. My dreams are to eventually move beyond the pastorate and do some things to help preachers, young preachers, and to open the door to more inclusiveness in the church, particularly the Baptist church, because my passion is to better train ministers and leaders in the church. And the way to reach my goal, continue to have community and connections in academia. And my mission is to continue to expand the kingdom through my gifts without trying to be like anybody else, but to operate in the uniqueness of my personality and my skill set.
Awesome. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for putting me out there.
That's right. That's right. Because First Baptist is better because of you. I told you, God placed you there on that corner of Southeast to do a great thing. And so as you all have heard our pastor share, I hope that you are encouraged and that you really will take serious walking through this exercise on your own. I hope, if I don't get to come back, I hope that you all will, at least, even if it's a small group, come back and reflect, right? Don't let this moment just pass and, oh, that was just that workshop on 15th, right? And then you move on, keep on doing. But come back and reflect with one another, even in the Zoom space, and hold one another accountable. Let me see what you're working with. Let me see. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. So once we, right, again, this is going to be fluid. This statement is going to be fluid, and it's going to change. You'll begin to kind of test and test it out, and see what feels right and what things begin to fall into place, and you'll shift, right? But keep it somewhere. Often in these types of settings, I say, at least have a journal that you can begin, right, writing and reflecting just with this in mind, nothing else, right? Keep your prayer journal separate, keep your Bible study journal separate, and now begin a self-care journal, okay? And that first entry would be the cultivation of this statement, okay? I shared with you all, if I didn't, I'm going to share now. I'm going to send you all a mental health resource sheet. Okay. I'll also send this presentation as well, because this one was created for you all. And on that sheet, there's going to be a link to a self-care guide that I wrote for Alfred Street when Pastor Wesley went on sabbatical. And it gives it's electronic, so you can always access it, and it gives us some ideas and ways to begin thinking about the actual self-care plan. Like, what stuff do I need to do for myself in order to make this statement active and alive? All right, so you got this statement that says, I've got stuff to do. I know I've got great things to do because of God. Now, how do I do it and take care of myself? Those two have to come together, and they have to walk lockstep with one another. You can't just have a statement and then miss out on number 4, which is what are the ways that you're going to reach this place? All right. You've got to have the statement, and then you've got to build your plan. So that is what I would love for you to be able to begin a personal journal about as we look at self-care from this new angle, right? So if you decide that you want a sound bath, then make an entry about your experience. If you decide that you want to add in, I'm going to add in Pilates. So my entry about my Pilates is I'm looking for a place to do it, right? I'm going to go to the intro, it's an 30-minute intro session, right? And that will help me task, because if I am better physical shape, then I will be able to do the things in my self-care statement, right? I'll be able to accomplish the mission, right? So part of my self-care plan is to be more healthy, be more active, et cetera, et cetera. I'm living with a 9-year-old, y'all pray for me, and she has energy that abounds for days. Only time she is not active is when she's asleep, and even in her sleep she's growing, so it's never ending around here. It's never ending. And so I want to live this thing that the Bible says Christ came to give me an abundant life. He came to give me life and that more abundantly. I want to live that life. That's my dream. That God, if you are real and you really did send Jesus Christ to die on a cross for me, thinking about me in his agony, I want to live this life he came to give me with the abundance that your word says. And I want to do it in a way that honors and brings you glory, because I realize I can't do anything without you. I want you all to be empowered, invested, educated, uplifted, connected, and do it in a way that this group and beyond. So all of those that didn't come today, don't tell them, child, you missed a good session. But sit them down and walk them through what you learned. Help them craft their self-care plan, their self-care statement, and then the self-care plan. Make an appointment to go walk with them if that's what they need. If their goal is physical exercise and yours is too, well, then connect with your brother and be like, I'll meet you on the corner of Minnesota Avenue. Let's get it in, right? Walk around that neighborhood, get some physical exercise in, and start lining that neighborhood with prayer. You'll get two things in. Start speaking to people, letting them know that's my church on the corner. Come by sometimes when we're in session. That's evangelism. You see, you'll be able to connect. If you take care of yourself, out from it will come life. And you all really will make a manifestation over on the southeast side of DC and beyond. People will say there's something different about those folk over there at First Baptist. I don't know what they're doing. We over here minding our business and taking care of ourselves. That's going to be y'all new mantra. We are minding our business, taking care of ourselves, and living for the glory of God. So the last thing I want you to do, unless there are any questions, if you have a question, comment, or concern, please go ahead and put that in the chat. Raise your hand. I would honor that. And the last thing I want to share with you is something that tangibly you'll be able to use every single day if you do it. How many of you all have a mirror at home, in your office? All right. I want you to make sure that you have a mirror in whatever space you do your work, your prayer, whatever, wherever you are most often. Everybody nowadays has a home office. I keep a mirror. This isn't the one, but I keep a mirror right next to my desk. And every day at some point, I take a look in that mirror. I copied the nursery rhyme, mirror, mirror on my desk, help me to always do my best. And before you do any more work, before you journal any more about your self-care statement, before you start thinking about your plan, before you start doing your work, I want you to take a look in this mirror. I want you to place it, even if you have to use your cell phone camera, just something that's going to allow you to see your reflection, right? And I want you to look in that mirror as often as you can. It would be great if you could do it every day. But as often as you can, I would love for you to look in that mirror and write down, what do you see? What do you notice as you're looking into the mirror? What do you feel? What do you sense? What do you want? What do you accept? What do you reject? What do you embrace? What do you need? You may not use those words, but if you just start asking what, it'll start coming up for you. right? What is it? What? And after you write that down, I want you to consider how much the person in the mirror means to you. How much do you mean to you? There's some days I look in this mirror and say, you got bags under your eyes because you haven't had enough rest. You have not taken care of yourself well. You mean more to me than that, Tasha. So tonight I'm going to bed early. Everybody's going to bed early. The dog, the baby, listen, everybody gonna eat dinner at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and at 7:30, we're shutting it down. Because today I looked in the mirror and saw that I was tired. The next thing, what is God's purpose for you as a leader at First Baptist? And no, you might not have the title, deacon, trustee, etc., pastor, minister, but you have a role and you are a leader for that branch of Zion. You are the face of First Baptist. When people see you, if they continue to come, they'll realize, oh, that's a regular person. He or she is always here. You have a major role there. Why does God have you at First Baptist? Now, what do you, the person in the mirror, and your role in this church, what do you need to do to get together as a team? How do you stop walking in two different lanes, separated and divided? How does Sister Thelma show up in her personal life and also as a representative of Christ at First Baptist? How do these two come together? Consider your reflection. Your reflection is powerful. It tells so much about you, because the one thing we found out, the mirror doesn't lie. It's only showing you what it sees. Right? Before you answer a phone call, look in the mirror. Before you make a call, look in the mirror. On a good day, look in the mirror. On a good day, I look in the mirror and be like, girl, you cute. You got it going on. God did a good thing when he made you. On a good day. Sometimes I have a bad day, but I look in that mirror and be like, get yourself together. All right, what's happening? I go back to the what questions. Why are you in this place? What's going on? What caused you to get here? Deal with that. Don't just gloss over it. Okay. Looking in the mirror, love the person that's looking back at you. And if you're not in a good place, stop. Get out of the habit of running with a stubbed toe. Get out of the habit of running on empty fumes. Let's break this cycle that I've got to be there for everyone and everything else, and I'll get the leftovers. Christ has the richest leftovers ever. Y'all remember that story in the Bible? We don't have, our leftovers don't mean that much. We're not God, remember? So we don't want just the leftovers. Put yourself in primary position. Align yourself vertically with the divine nature of your calling. Embrace your self-care plan and put in what you need to do to make the mission happen. Because you matter. Self-care matters because you matter. Your pastor is not going to provide you with self-care. Can he encourage you? Absolutely. This is why you're having a session. but he cannot be responsible for your self-care. He is not the reason why you hate the church. He's not the reason why you mad at God. Let's take some accountability. Let's do what we need to do. Let's move in the way God has called us to move. We can do this one moment at a time. So I open the floor for, again, questions, comments, concerns. I will send to Pastor Brooks the presentation. I will send to Pastor Brooks the resource sheet. It will have contact information. You can reach out to me directly. Prayerfully, we'll come back and check in. Hold one another, get you a partner, and hold yourself accountable. God crafted this moment for you all today, First Baptist, and it has been my pleasure to share. I love you. I love you.
Are there any questions? Dr. Morgan has pulled out. Let me, before I ask the question, you can see in the chat that while Dr. Morgan, we're blessing you as a church. We want to make sure if individuals want to sow into the Headspace ministry, into what you're doing, your let me make sure I got it right. It is $ L Morg, LMORG 1561. Let me say it again, because you have blessed us. And I'm gonna go back to the old Baptist saying, we could never begin to pay you, but doggone it, we could sure try to bless you. And so $ L Morg, LMORG 1561. Let's pour into it. I've already sowed a seed. Let's sow a seed into the ministry that my good friend, my sister, that's my buddy over there on Maryland Avenue. Please sow into her life. She is as remarkable and smiling and joyous as she is here. That's the real Latasha Morgan. I'm going to step off the stage and if you have questions or comments, please direct them towards Dr. Morgan. I know she has blessed me.
God bless you. Pastor Brooks, did you have an announcement? I just saw the chat. My apologies.
That was it.
That was it. Okay.
That was it. That was it.
Right.
So right. I'm listening. I'm just here listening to you continue to bless us with this matter.
All right. Well, we've got 2 minutes. If there are any questions, I definitely want to take a moment and acknowledge the comments in the chat. This is, listen, I'm a background singer. I'm a background player, but I'm also, I also want to be obedient to the leading of God in my life. And so thank you. This is all being done for the glory of God. I'm glad to see some of the comments that this is important. It's helped you look at self-care in a different way. There's some new terms that have been embraced. My personal experience, listen, I've got to keep it real because, folk overcome by your testimony. Revelation is right about that. They overcome. And when your testimony is connected to the power of God, overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the power of your testimony, listen, you can't help but to bring out the best. And that's what I want to do. Do you think the stigma associated with the term mental health illness interferes with our capacity for self-care and seeking help? It absolutely does, Sister Maddie, and thank you for that question. That's part of the work to be able to share with churches to say that, listen, this, again, just like guilt, as I was explaining to you all, this idea of stigma has to be put to rest. Stigma does nothing but keep us bound and in hostage to ideals and mindsets that do not serve us well. And if the enemy can put the church in a place where they are not operating in their full capacity, then the mission we all have won't be accomplished, and he will win. And that's not happening, not on my watch. So there is no more what happens here stays here. we're going to open our mouths. We're going to begin to be free and embrace the freedom that we have in Christ as believers. So yes, that is a huge problem, but as we learn and share, we can then empower. So go and tell somebody, run and tell somebody about what you've experienced. Yes, ma'am.
The reason I asked that question was because I feel that we treat mental disorders differently as though they're not a part of the body. Because in some ways, mental disorders to me are physical disorders. They just operate out of the brain. So that was my reason for asking that.
Sister Maddie, and you are absolutely correct, even in that statement. And the stigma in small steps is being broken. The at large research shows there is an amazing African-American woman who is the new Surgeon General in California, who has done some research on ACEs, and that's a different thing, but ACEs is a test that allows you to assess the trauma that you've had as a child, and then how that trauma shows up in your body. And she's on a mission. And so when you start looking at people like that, high level people like Oprah, people down on the ground like us, a Sister Maddie that says, no, this isn't something we're just going to glean over, move past. But when we begin to have a conversation, and more so from a place that says mental wellness is achievable to prevent, and self-care helps you prevent, in most cases, mental illness, then we're on to something, because people can easily more readily receive something that's well, right? Something that's positive. Mental illness has a negative stigma to it. But if we start from a place of, let's talk about your well-being, your mental well-being, then ears will perk up and people will embrace it. So that's part of my mission. And as you heal, share the word so that others can too. Any other thank you for having me. There's a thank you there in the comment. I look forward to supporting you all as you move forward. Don't let this moment pass. Pastor Brooks has a direct line to me. So if there's any veering off, we're gonna get this train back on the track. All right. First Baptist, you all lead the way, blaze the trail, so that other churches will take this serious. You can have Jesus, a prescription, a therapist couch, and still maintain your mental wellness. Ain't no stopping us now.
Let's applaud Dr. Morgan for the time and the expertise. I'm just overwhelmed. Thank you so much, Dr. Morgan. And it is my vision, my hope, that we can come back and do this again, maybe before the summer begins. 22 months under this sort of cloud and shadow have necessitated that we have these kinds of seminars, and this is the best use of time. And so I'm asking you early, and I'm going to reach out, and I'll do it the right way this time. I'll also make sure I send a letter to Pastor Toogood, but I want to thank him, even though he's not on here, for allowing this moment to come to pass. And so everybody, again, let's give another hand, a great applause to this magnificent woman of God. This is my friend. We're not just colleagues. That's my friend. And so I'm going to ask Dr. Morgan, if you would close us out in prayer, and then we're going to just make sure we get back with you, me, Deacon Lizzie. We're going to get back with you and see what your calendar looks like around May or June, see what we can do. Okay.
Okay. And I just want to just share, Reverend Heatley, she did reach out on behalf of First Baptist, because there's some things that she'd love to be able to put into place. And so Reverend Heatley, we certainly will have with Pastor Brooks follow-up conversation, because there are some resources that I'd love to share with you all that can be available to your church to begin with small groups to just kind of help with some of the things that the church brings in, right? Beginning to look at establishing in a small feat as it grows a mental wellness ministry for you all. So it won't end here, all right? And there's some great work that will happen as a result, okay? I just did not want to let this moment pass without acknowledging that.
And Sister Gwen also has left some resources at the church that what we may do is we may try to mail them out. If people have a desire, we can email. And what I'm going to do is, Dr. Latasha, when I get the information, that the resource material, I'm going to send a blast email with the information that you give us, like the presentation and other things. But man, I am overwhelmed. This has just been an amazing and necessary gathering. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Well, if every heart and mind are clear, let us go to God and pray. We are just in awe. We are in awe of how you have made, created, and caused us to be. And so in this moment, Father, we want to be grateful and show gratitude for your grace and for your love, for the gifts, for the good, for the bad, and for the in-between, God. We thank you for giving us the fortitude to press on yet another day. And so, Father, as we lift up this family of faith in the person of First Baptist of Minnesota Avenue and the amazing pastor and under shepherd you have set at the helm, God, I pray, Father, that you will bless them even the more, that you will see the need, oh God, and that every one of them will be met, Father, that you will allow them, oh God, to be not only an internal resource for members, but a resource and connection for the community, that we will change in a major way and remove stigma from mental wellness, but also, God, allow them to be productive, working, able-bodied members of the Christian community, Father. We thank you for melding together our talents and gifts, and that we are able to do this thing called ministry so that it looks and feels like you. Help us to do our own self-work. Help us to take care of ourselves the way that you have guided us and the way that you've instructed us, so that we will have the impact and change in this world we were meant to do and be. Father, for every individual prayer request and every person and family on this call, we didn't get a chance to put those requests out in the open, but you know our hearts and you know what we stand in need of, God. So I ask that you will draw into us, oh God, that you will hear our cries and pleas, that you will incline your ear and sup with us a while until it is all well and done. We thank you, God. We bless you and we praise you and we give your name the glory. And we account that this day is sealed and that we are better because of it. In the matchless name of Christ, we pray. Amen. God bless you, First Baptist.
God bless you. Thank you, Dr. Morgan. Get some rest, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Amazing. 35 people. 35 people. Lord is well pleased.